Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our program today. We have a lot to talk about, a ton of things to talk about. I want to make sure we have a lot of people here in the chat on our channel watching this program. Right now we have Richard Smith, Demon Catman. We have Joe Shinpaw here, Berlinda Mustafa, Hurricane Heather is here. We welcome everybody here. We want some more people here. I'm just going to continue here for just another moment or two to make sure we have a full contingent of people here on the channel. Tinny Pearl's here. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. Appreciate our mods, Hurricane Heather, Richard, and Demon Catman being here. We appreciate them very much. We appreciate all of our mods here.
5.1 from 5.3 location, 55 miles northeast of Ambler, Alaska. Class moderate, depth 6.2 miles, 27 minutes ago.
About 27 minutes ago, we had a 5.3 earthquake hit Ambler, Alaska. We'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. We have a lot of things going on. Joe Shimbaugh is saying big wind warnings for tomorrow in his area. I'm going to talk about that as well. A lot of things are going on, guys. A lot of stuff is going on. Let's go over to the weather right now. Okay? This is the enhanced weather risk into tomorrow. And over to the east, you're going to look at the same thing coming in on Saturday into Sunday. Especially Sunday here in North Carolina. Saturday night into Sunday. Now, let's zoom in on this enhanced weather risk, okay? I want to show you this. In this area here, okay, we're talking from the Great Lakes south, okay, Illinois, Indiana, we're talking Nebraska, we're talking Kansas, we're talking Oklahoma, we're talking Missouri, we're talking Arkansas, Mississippi, and into Alabama. Enhanced weather risk. Now, folks, this I'm not going to take lightly at all. And into Texas as well, western Texas, western and south Texas. Folks, this is very, very important. Please take note of this, okay? Right here, we're going to have heavy rain. We're going to have high winds. High winds. I'm talking anywhere from 30 to 45 mile an hour winds. Flooding. Okay? Within a 1 or 2 hour period, we could get up to 3 inches of rain throughout this area. Especially that tan area in the center. Okay? Now on top of that, there's going to be significant downdrafts and updrafts. Why am I saying updrafts? We're talking tornadoes. We're expecting anywhere from 7 to 9 tornadoes tomorrow, all throughout this area. Missouri and Oklahoma and Indiana tend to get hit very hard with tornadoes. And yes, we're going to see that tomorrow. Now this storm is moving east. Okay, it's moving eastbound. As the storm moves out of this area eastbound, we're going to see significant change over in Kentucky and Tennessee. We're going to see significant change into Georgia, South Carolina, and over into North Carolina and Virginia, and over on the eastern seaboard. Okay, the northeastern seaboard. A lot of rain, a lot of heavy winds, a lot of wind. Okay, flooding. We're talking flooding, guys. Okay, Joe Shinbaugh says his eyes have been burning all day. Anyone else? You should be. The atmosphere is changing. Okay? This weather change here is going to be very significant. Yes, we've had some higher temperatures recently. Today we had near 80-degree temperatures here in Morganton, North Carolina. Significantly high. Higher than we've seen them this time of year. Usually we see 30 to 40-degree temperatures at night and during the day. Now that significantly is increased into 60s, 70s, and now 80s today. Tomorrow will be significantly cooler, probably upper 70s. Then after that, everything's going to change come Saturday. But guys, this you need to be aware of. Heavy rains, high winds, tornadoes, and flooding. Okay? Significant flooding, especially in low-lying areas. You need to be aware of this. This is going to be very dangerous come tomorrow. Very, very dangerous come tomorrow. Catherine Sigerson is from Saskatchewan, Canada. We appreciate her here as well. Guys, this is dangerous. Okay? Yes, right now, the west coast of North America is getting hit. From Washington south into California. I talked to a meteorologist from ABC News in San Diego, KGTV, and she said they are expecting heavy rain there as well as flooding and windy. Okay? That has already occurred over into Arizona and over into Texas now, and now you're seeing this here in the Midwest. Okay? It's moving. Be aware of it. If anything gets out of hand, we'll be talking about it as that comes necessary tomorrow. If necessary, we will go on the air live tomorrow when this is happening to show you exactly what is going on. I believe it's very important. Something else that's important today. Okay? Last night, we got a volcanic weather advisory. Why do I call it volcanic weather? Mount Spurr in Alaska is showing extreme signs of unrest. A lot of earthquakes. A ton of earthquakes. Okay? Now here, Mount Spurr is just about 147 kilometers northwest of Anchorage. Okay? That's about 47, or actually 75 miles northwest of Anchorage. 75 miles northwest, 147 kilometers northwest of Anchorage. Okay? You can see Mount Spurr from downtown Anchorage. Mount Spurr is a stratovolcano in the Aleutian Island Arc of Alaska. It's named after United States Geological Survey geologist and explorer Josiah Edward Spurr, who led an expedition to the area in 1898. Mount Spurr is the closest volcano to Anchorage. Okay? Volcanologists are closely monitoring Mount Spurr right now. After a series of seismic tremors and significant changes in the terrain suggest that the mountain is undergoing a period of increased volcanic activity. Okay? Increased volcanic activity. Why am I saying that? Why am I saying that? Now you only see a small picture of me. We're seeing land rise. Land rise. Why do we see land rise? Magma coming into the volcano, forcing the land rise up, forcing the volcano itself to go up. Okay? Magma within the volcano causing that. Earthquakes are caused by magma in the volcanic chamber fracturing rock inside the volcano and causing earthquakes. That's what's happening now at Mount Spurr. And as a result, volcanologists have given Mount Spurr a yellow advisory rating. Okay? Changes in the terrain, earthquakes, and a lot of steam as well. I'm going to talk about steam in a few minutes. Okay? During overflights of the volcano in planes on March 7th and again the 11th, which is 2 days ago. The Alaska Volcanic Observatory, owned and operated by USGS, has measured significantly elevated volcanic gas emissions from Mount Spurr volcano. Elevated volcanic ash, or not ash, but gas emissions. Gas being SO2 and CO2, sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide. Okay? Newly reactivated fumaroles, gas vents. Newly reacted fumaroles, gas vents near the Crater Peak vent. There are several vents on Mount Spurr, but near the Crater Peak vent, we've had significant gas emissions. Elevated earthquake activity, as I said, because the volcano is recharging and the mountain is growing because of magma coming into the volcano. Okay? That's caused significant ground deformation, meaning movement in the volcano. The increased gas emissions confirms that new magma has intruded into the Earth's crust beneath the volcano, and it indicates an eruption is likely, but it's not certain when it's going to happen. They don't know. It could have happened within the next few days, it could happen within the next few weeks, or even months. We don't know. The most likely outcome of the current unrest is an explosive eruption. Okay? The most likely outcome of the current unrest is an explosive eruption. Okay? Like those that occurred in 1953 and again in 1992. This volcano has a history of explosive eruptions. Those eruptions each lasted a few hours and produced ash clouds that were carried downwind for hundreds of miles, and minor ashfall up to a quarter of an inch on south central Alaska communities, including Anchorage. Okay? Now, we expect to see further increases in seismic activity because the magma is going into the upper magma chambers of the volcano. We expect to see further increases in seismic activity, gas emissions, and surface heating. How does surface heating occur? Surface heating occurs when the magma rises in the volcanic chamber and heats the earth around it. It heats the dirt, heats the rock around it. That causes the surface heating. Surface heating also causes ice and snow to fall down the mountain in the form of avalanches. We're going to talk about that too. Okay? The surface heating occurs just prior to an eruption. And if one were to occur, such stronger unrest may provide days to weeks of additional warning. Okay? We're watching this. USGS is monitoring it via satellite and other instruments around the volcano. Okay? They're monitoring it. As the significant unrest gets stronger, this is going to provide us with more and more detail of what's going on. And that will enable an additional warning to occur. Recent observations, again on Friday, March 7th. The Alaska Volcanic Observatory monitored about 450 metric tons per day of sulfur dioxide. 450 metric tons of sulfur dioxide here at Mount Spurr from the summit vent. This is an increase from less than 50 metric tons per day prior to that, in December 2024. The Alaska Volcanic Observatory has also measured increased concentrations of CO2, carbon dioxide at the summit and at the Crater Peak vent, 2 miles, 3.5 kilometers south of the summit. The CO2 concentrations at Crater Peak were especially high. In the past, such values of CO2 have been observed prior to eruptions. For example, at Mount Redoubt Volcano in 2009. Preliminary results from a gas overflight on March 11th, 2 days ago, confirmed these same results at Mount Spurr. Okay? Over the last month, the AVO has located over 100 earthquakes per week under Mount Spurr. Most earthquakes are shallow, less than 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers deep. Magnitudes during this time are as large as 2.7 earthquakes, 2.7 minor earthquakes. Over 3,400 earthquakes have been located under the volcano since April last year, almost a year ago. Ground deformation also continues. As I said, ground deformation, the volcano rising up because of the magma forcing itself into the volcanic chamber, forcing movement. The volcano to date has risen up 2.6 inches, 6.5 centimeters. Okay, that's at the closest GPS station. Modeling of this inflation suggests a source around 2 to 3 miles below the sea level, below the volcano, and about 2 miles, 3 to 4 kilometers west of Mount Spurr's summit. There has been a collapse of snow and ice into the summit crater lake. There's a summit crater lake. Okay? That crater lake formed during this period of unrest. Okay? Before it wasn't there. Now, along with steam emissions from the fumaroles within and around the summit crater, and the collapse of snow and ice into the crater. Okay? New steaming from small snow-free spots within the crater peak were observed beginning on March 6th. Steaming. These locations have been sporadically snow-free for years, but steaming has not been observed since 2008. Now it's happening. Now, the current unrest at Mount Spurr indicates that new magma has intruded into the Earth's crust beneath the volcano, and the probability of an eruption has increased. It is highly likely that magma has been accumulating beneath Mount Spurr summit for some months. The recent gas data suggests that a new pathway towards the crater peak vent has opened. A new pathway. How does that happen? How do we have a new pathway to the crater? How? Magma beneath the surface, guys. Magma beneath the surface. And as it hits, it goes from beneath that magma or that lava plug at the top of the volcano. Every volcano has a lava plug. Okay? The magma beneath it keeps hitting the underneath side of it. What happens then? Let's look at my hand here. Let's envision my hand as a lava plug. As the magma from beneath hits it, pressure, that magma hitting that solid plug rock develops fissures, cracks in the rock. As so many cracks keep happening, there is steam coming from the magma. 6 to 7, maybe 8% of magma is water. 6 to 8% of magma is water. Okay? So as this magma continues hitting this plug, and those fissures open up, those cracks in that lava plug open up, it forces that steam through those cracks. Hot steam. We've talked about this before. When you have steam going through rock or any other material, it increases the size of those holes that the steam is escaping from. It's a simple physics operation here. Okay? We already have cracks in the rock, that lava plug. Hot steam forces its way through those cracks, and as that happens, that hot steam enlarges the cracks. At some point in time, we have an eruption because the magma beneath that plug keeps hitting that plug. And all of a sudden, at some point in time, because we've already got cracks in that rock, all of a sudden, the cracks will pop it. It'll shatter. Then we will have a lava eruption from the volcano. And this lava eruption, as I've said in the past, has been a huge eruption. Okay? Huge eruption. The gas data suggests a new pathway towards the crater peak has occurred because the magma has forced its way up through the rock, fracturing the rock, causing earthquakes. That fresh magma may rise and erupt at that point. Crater Peak is the site of all historical eruptions. Most of the eruptions have happened at Crater Peak. The last known eruption from Spurr Summit occurred several thousand years ago. Based on all available monitoring data, the Alaska Volcanic Observatory regards the following scenarios as possible. I'm going to give you the following scenarios. Let's consider scenario 1. An explosive eruption like what happened in 1953 and again in 1992. Okay? Those are the most likely ideas of what's going to happen. An explosive eruption like what happened in 1993 or 1953 and 1992. Scenario 2 and 3. A smaller eruption or no eruption at all. A smaller eruption or no eruption are possible, but this is considered less likely. And the likelihood of a much larger eruption is currently low at this point in time. Explosive eruptions like happened in 1953 and 1992. In this scenario, one or more explosive events, each lasting as long as a few hours, could be possible, with ash clouds carrying ash downwind for hundreds of miles, and a minor quarter of an inch or so of ashfall over south central Alaska. The flanks of Mount Spurr likely would be swept by pyroclastic flows, lava flowing down the mountainside. Pyroclastic flows, hot molten lava flowing down the side of the mountain, creating hot avalanches. Those avalanches would be pushing melting snow and ice down the side of the volcano. Okay? Then, on top of that, if we have an explosive eruption, what's going to happen? Just like we saw with the eruption of Kilauea years ago. We had great big huge globs of magma, lava. Great big huge globs of lava coming out of the volcano, coming out of the fissures over in Hawaii, didn't we? Some of those globs of lava came flying out of the fissure and it went out to sea over on the tourist boats. In this case here in Alaska, we could have hot lava bombs flowing out of the crater all the way down the side of the mountain. Ballistic lava showers, mud flows, because we have the lava flowing down the hill and the creeks and the streams in that area getting greater and greater with the melting of the snow and the ice. All that together with the molten lava coming down the volcano are going to create mud flows, lahars. This could inundate the upper Chakachachatna, I'm going to say that again, Chakachachatna River Valley. Okay? It could inundate the river valley. That could cause all kinds of hate and discontent around smaller Alaskan villages in that area. Now we can have another idea here. 2. Lava forming and or explosive eruptions. It is possible that Mount Spurr volcano could erupt less explosively than it did in 1992 and in 1953. It could produce lava flows, a lava dome. Okay, we have a small lava flow going down the mountain, and then the lava starts cooling, and we develop another lava dome at the summit of the volcano. Okay, that lava dome could stay there, or the volcano could continue to throw that hard lava out of that volcano down the mountain, and then at some point in time we could have less eruptive activity, and finally that lava dome would be established, the lava would cool, and there would be no more eruptions. Okay? Lava dome producing and only brief exposure eruptions. Brief explosive exposure eruptions. That's the best case scenario. Okay? Either that or no eruption at all. Such events would have less far-traveled impacts, but lahars and mud flows in the drainages around the volcano are possible. Okay? Now let's look at the other idea. No eruption at all, a failed eruption. If the magma stalls and does not reach the surface, as what happened in 2004 and 2006, we fully expect to see earthquake activity, ground deformation, rising up of the mountain, because the lava still is going to form inside the volcanic chamber. It's going to form and force the mountain to even rise further. Okay? Ground deformation and gas emissions are possible. Okay? Because the magma is 6 to 8% water, and that steam has to go somewhere. So we'll see gas emissions and surface heating slowly decrease over several weeks, or possibly months. Okay? Ground deformation decreasing, gas emissions decreasing, and surface heating slowly decreasing over several weeks or months. That is probably the best case scenario. That's what they hope will happen. Now, a large explosive eruption. Eruptions larger than those in 1992 and 53 could occur. These would likely result in larger ash clouds, thicker asphalt deposits, and greater overall impacts there in Alaska and points east. No such eruptions have been known to occur in historical times. Large explosive eruptions did not happen in previous historical times, and the geological record suggests that those larger eruptions are very rare. Now, therefore, the likelihood of such an event is very low. Okay? Now, I've said this before when I've talked about eruptions and volcanic activity anywhere, any of the volcanoes. We don't know when it's going to happen. We absolutely do not know when it's going to happen. But right now, Mount Spurr volcanic status remains advisory status, meaning it could erupt. New magma has intruded into the Earth's crust in and around the volcano. Most likely outcome is an explosive eruption. Most likely outcome is an explosive eruption. That's what we believe is going to happen. That's what we believe is going to happen. Will it happen? Possibly. There is a very good chance it could happen. Okay? We've seen Mount Redoubt south of there erupt before. We've seen it happen just a few years ago. But it was a very light eruption. It was a very light eruption. It still can happen. Mount Redoubt is also steaming. We cannot assign an exact time frame for an eruption at Mount Spurr, if it will occur. But if it does, the increased gas emissions that were recorded on March 7th and 13th suggest that the eruption may occur in the next few weeks. The eruption could occur within the next few weeks, even months. We expect to see additional changes here in monitoring data prior to the eruption, and we will keep you updated on what happens. Now, if one were to occur, as magma moves closer to the surface, this would include a change in the rate and character of earthquakes. It will have a change in the rate and character of earthquakes, the number of earthquakes and the strength of the earthquakes, and also the time element involved. Okay? The time element between earthquakes. That is very strategic in trying to assess when the volcano will erupt. Okay? There will be an onset of sustained seismic tremors. Sustained seismic tremors. Further increased gas eruptions. Emissions, gas emissions, and changes in surface deformation as that magma continues to rise into the volcanic chamber. Changes in the surface deformation and melting of snow and ice. In 1992, such changes occurred about 3 weeks prior to the first eruption. Should earthquake activity or other monitoring data suggest that an earthquake is likely within hours or days, Aveyah will raise the Mount Spurr aviation color code from yellow to alert level. They would raise the current yellow aviation color code to alert level. Okay? And the aviation color code would change from orange or red. And the alert level, watch, or warning. Those are the levels on which the Aveyah will assess the readiness for Mount Spurr to erupt. Decreases in earthquake activity, degassing, and surface deformation would make it less likely that the unrest will progress into an eruption. Okay? We hope that there will be degassing and less seismic activity. The current hazards, let's talk about that. While we expect additional changes to the monitoring data prior to an eruption, it is also possible that an eruption could occur with little or no additional warning. We need to be ready for that as well. And yes, I am monitoring this as well. Okay? I have a direct connection to the AVO in Alaska. And if an eruption were to occur, I will get a warning just probably within the hour before the eruption. And I will come on the air to talk about it. Okay? But an eruption could occur with little or no additional warning. This would be extremely hazardous for recreators on Mount Spurr. People who like to hike and camp around Mount Spurr or near its drainages, the streams and the rivers down alongside the bottom of the volcano, okay, as well as those overflying the volcano as well. Yes, they have been sending airplanes, not jets, but airplanes over the volcano to assess the readiness of the volcanic eruption and the gas emissions. In addition, CO2 and SO2 emissions are currently elevated and may pose a hazard to anyone in low-lying areas. As that gas comes out of the volcano, we've seen it happen over at Mount Rainier. The gas comes out of the volcano and it forms like a bowl over the top of the volcano. Anybody in that area could be overcome by gas and then they will die. SO2 is a very dangerous gas. CO2, on the other hand, is not anywhere near being able to be sensed. There's no color and no smell with CO2. SO2 has a definite sulfur egg-like smell, but CO2 does not have that. If that CO2 goes down in a ridge or a valley on the side of the volcano, anyone there could be overcome and die. SO2 could also almost immediately kill anybody with any kind of breathing apparatus or without breathing apparatus as well. Okay? Anyone in low-lying areas or downwind of the gas vents, such as within the craters or atop Crater Peak or on the Spurr summit. Again, CO2 is a colorless, odorless gas, and hazard areas of high CO2 cannot be detected by sight or smell. Now, Mount Spurr is being monitored by local seismic networks, ground deformation stations, infrasound sensors, and a wide area camera, as well as remote sensing data and satellite imagery of surface changes and ash and gas emissions. There is a regional web camera also there, regional infrasound sensors, lightning data. When we've had eruptions at volcanoes in the past, there is lightning accompanying the eruption. We've seen it at other volcanoes, such as over in what is it called? Down over in Japan. Okay, 2 different volcanoes in Japan. We've seen pictures of the pictures and also video of the lightning occurring as the volcano erupts. We're going to see data on that as well. And any other activity to detect unrest is already there, and we will be monitoring it along with AVO. Okay? At the current level of unrest, we plan and AVO plans to conduct routine overflights to measure gas emissions. Okay? That's how I first got notified that Mount Spurr was getting ready to erupt, is because they sent me information about gas emissions. And they're also evaluating surface changes, deformation of the volcano. Now, they are considering adding additional monitoring instruments in response to the current unrest. Okay, they're going to add additional monitoring instruments in response to the current unrest. They believe that Mount Spurr is getting ready to erupt, and we're going to be monitoring that as well with you. Do we have any questions about the possible eruption of Mount Spurr or any of the other volcanoes? Cowboy Roy Rogers is here, says it takes 400,000 parts per million, excuse me, per million, excuse me, as CO2 to overcome the amount of oxygen for us to breathe and risk to be harmful. 400,000 parts per million is not a lot. I've seen CO2 emissions overcome scientists on the side of the mountain. They've been giving breathing apparatus to get their oxygen levels back up. Okay? Cowboy Roy Rogers is saying our current average CO2 emissions or levels are barely enough to sustain plant and animal lives at 400 parts per million. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Do we have any other questions about volcanic emissions or volcanic eruptions? As I said the other night, we talked about Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Both of those volcanoes are experiencing seismic activity. Okay? They're not showing it on the outside on the USGS maps because the USGS personnel do not want that information coming out. But I keep showing you seismic data, seismograms from the volcanoes, showing a lot of elevated activity. And I'm going to continue providing that to all of you. Okay? Now, when we talk about CO2, carbon dioxide, I'm going to give you a short lesson on CO2 a little bit later in this presentation. Okay? Renee Seppi says Iceland. Iceland is undergoing a lot of earthquakes. Yes, it's very possible that we may have an earthquake and an eruption north of Grindavik. We've seen a lot of activity at Grindavik now. Okay? We've seen more fissures opening up in Grindavik. The fissures opening up in Grindavik are very minor compared to what happened 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they believed that Grindavik was going to pop, that we would have a volcanic eruption in Grindavik. That did not happen. But we had an eruption west of Grindavik. Most of the eruptions we've had have been north and west of Grindavik. And that's where I believe it's going to happen again. Robin Moore says she can see Mount Rainier a few towns over. Most people can see Mount Rainier from where they live, anywhere near Seattle, Tacoma area. Okay? I know many of you around there have sent me information via email or have sent me, actually, many of you have even called me about Mount Rainier, what's going on. Okay? And I appreciate those calls. I appreciate that information in my email. And I share that with you when it happens. Okay? Now, someone asked about Campi Flegrei. Campi Flegrei is getting heavy right now. They've had increased seismic events over their earthquakes. That is a major supervolcano. That's a supervolcano. They have evacuated people from around there. Okay? It's going to happen. It's happening now. I fully expect Campi Flegrei to erupt at some point in time. The seismic activity will diminish and then it will get stronger. It will diminish and get stronger. We've seen that happen. Okay? During the past few weeks, it's diminished, and now it's gotten stronger again. Okay? Now, Demon Catman says buildings have collapsed around there. Yes, they have. And some people have been caught in those buildings. Some people have been caught in those buildings, and I have deep sympathy for those people. Now, there are some places that have been evacuated, and most people have. Most people have been evacuated, but some have stayed. Okay? Now, when Demon Catman says buildings have collapsed, I need to go back here and talk about that just briefly. Italy does not have the same building standards that we have. A lot of those buildings were built about 50 years ago, or even longer than that. They don't have the same building standards that we have here in England or over in America. They don't. And as a result, when they have that kind of seismic activity, and yes, all it takes is a not minor, but a moderate 4.0 to 4.9 earthquake to occur, and that's what's been going on. They just had a 4.4 earthquake over there last night. The 4.4 is a mid-range 4, mid-range moderate earthquake. It happened. It collapsed buildings. That's what happens. When you have that amount of activity ongoing every day, earthquake after earthquake, from a minor earthquake to a small to a moderate earthquake, at some point in time, the building materials got to give. And that's what happened over there yesterday and today. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. Okay? And Pickery's here in the chat says, watch out for those volcanoes. Keep safe. I totally agree. Yes, we have a handful of people that have been here from Italy. Been in the chat from Italy. We have a handful, I can't even say a handful anymore. We have like 20, 25 people from Europe. Literally all over Europe. Ireland. We have Demon Catman from the east of England. We had someone from Wales the other day. We have people from Scandinavia all the time. Romania, the Czech Republic. We have people from Rome. We have people from different parts of Greece. We appreciate that. And as much as we possibly can, we will keep you informed about what's going on. Okay? I have family, extended family in Italy. Okay? I've had extended family in Italy. My grandfather, he was not a blood grandfather, but we consider him our grandfather, Frank Foley. His family came from Italy. I still have great-grand uncles, and we have nephews and nieces over there in Italy. They're not anywhere near this super volcano yet. Okay? They used to be in Naples, and they moved away from Naples about 10 years ago. So they're out of that area, fortunately. But I have family also in Italy. Robin Moore says she's going to Tacoma at the end of the month. She said she will try to get pics. I would appreciate that very much. Thanks, Robin, for that. Richard Smith is here in the chat giving us updates about earthquakes that are occurring. Another 2.8 earthquake in southwestern Puerto Rico. It's not going to stop. Those earthquakes in southwestern Puerto Rico are not going to stop. Why? Because southwestern Puerto Rico experienced two major earthquakes, December 26 and December 28, 2019. 8.0 and 8.4 earthquakes, man-made. Man-made. Okay? Now, someone has said, and I talked to them, not here in chat, but I talked to them over Messenger earlier this week, I believe it was, either Monday or even last Friday. Here, do not put this name in the chat. Do not put this word in the chat. This organization here has facilities around the world. There was a facility in Norway, one in Russia, and one in northwestern Australia. They lit up their facilities on December 26th and December 28th. They triangulated southwestern Puerto Rico, causing an 8.0 earthquake to occur on December 26th and an 8.4 earthquake to occur on December 28, 2019. That's why we're seeing today all of these earthquakes and tremors around southwestern Puerto Rico. All those tremors and earthquakes around southwestern Puerto Rico are aftershocks. Every one of them. Every one of them. Okay? It's unreal. When this happened, I had I still have, in my database here on my computer, I have access to all that information. I shared it online when it happened. Incredible. Incredible. Lena Volcano says disrupted the area even if it was man-made. Yes, it did. It destroyed the area. Homes and businesses were flattened. Homes and businesses were flattened. The homes that weren't flattened, people went into their homes, pulled out their bedroom mattresses and such, and anything else they could get out of their homes so they could continue living in their yards around their home. Because their home was now dangerous to live in. It was coming down on top of them. Since then, some homes and businesses have been totally razed, destroyed. Destroyed. I've talked about this many times in the past 5 years, 6 years. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Nobody should have to go through what those people did. Those earthquakes shook the whole island of Puerto Rico. It destroyed lives. It killed people. Made them unalive. Yes, they use unalive now instead of killed, because they feel unalive is less frightening. Unreal. 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 We have a man named TV Test Pattern here. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Richard Smith says, imagine living in sinkhole areas. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I've seen sinkholes in San Diego. One of my dearest friends, who I worked with for years, was one of my confidants. He was a companion man on our police department. He was part of the crisis team, which he and I were part of. He and I were partners to that crisis team. A sinkhole developed in Harbor Drive, just south of downtown San Diego. He was driving the speed limit, 45 miles per hour through the area. A sinkhole, 7 o'clock in the evening, twilight. A sinkhole opened up in the middle of Harbor Drive, and my buddy Robbie drove into it. It didn't kill him, but it broke his back in 2 or 3 different places. He was never the same after that. He became another, he took another job after he got out of the hospital, was able to walk with a cane. He never was able to be a police officer again. Unreal. Lena Volcano says she lives in a sinkhole in La Puente, California. Lena, did you know that La Puente is a caldera? It's the top of the volcano. That's why you have a sinkhole developing in that area. That's why. It's a volcano. The Walnut La Puente area is a volcano. It's the top of the caldera. Unreal. Unreal. Let's move on here. I've got a lot more information to give you. Now, I want to leave volcanoes and earthquakes right now. We can get back to earthquakes and volcanoes in a little while, but I want to talk about Social Security. Many of you live on Social Security or will soon be getting Social Security in your lives to help pay your bills. Okay? Tomorrow at 12 midnight, we may be facing a government shutdown. Yesterday, the United States Congress, the House of Representatives, who controls the purse strings of the government, issued a memorandum of understanding which would let the government continue to function until the end of this year. They passed that bill in the House of Representatives. Now it's gone to the Senate. Tomorrow the Senate will be discussing and hopefully voting in the positive to approve that bill for President Trump's signature. However, there is a prospect of yet another shutdown. Yet another government shutdown as lawmakers wrangle over the temporary funding bill. That's leaving many people wondering how Social Security will be affected if the federal government shuts its doors. Let's talk about that. I want everybody to be aware of it. A lot of people here in the chat are already getting Social Security. Fortunately, the Social Security Administration, the SSA, is one of the government agencies that puts together detailed contingency plans outlining the services that it would continue and pause in case of a shutdown. In their missive laying out its plan, the agency said this, quote, "We will continue activities critical to our direct service operations." I'm sorry, I've got allergies, guys. They said they will continue activities critical to our direct service operations and those needed to ensure accurate and timely payment of benefits. We will cease activities not directly related to the accurate and timely payment of benefits or not critical to our direct service operations. One thing is clear. Even if the U.S. government shuts down, each and every one of you, they're on Social Security, SSDI or SSD, your Social Security checks and disability checks will continue. You will continue to receive your money payments from Social Security. It comes from a very different fund than any other government money. The reason that the Social Security payments will continue is that they are considered to be mandatory spending. Mandatory spending. They're funded under a trust, which is not part of the annual appropriations process. Social Security services would be paused during the shutdown. The Social Security Administration will be partially closed if they shut down, with about 8,103 of its 59,058 workers furloughed. 8,103 people will be furloughed out of over 59,000 people. Services that are not directly related to payment benefits and those not critical to direct service operations would stop until the government reopens. If the shutdown lasts more than 5 days, the SSA would reevaluate the number of employees necessary to perform critical operations as it did during the 2013 shutdown. According to the SSA, services that are set to be paused should shutdown occur include benefit verifications, earnings record corrections and updates, payee accountings, prisoner activity suspension, requests from third parties for queries. The Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA Act, requests would stop until the government restarts. IT enhancement activities, computer enhancement activities with the Social Security Administration would cease. Public relations and training would also cease until the government reestablishes itself. Replacement Medicare cards would not be going out until after the government reopens. Overpayment processing would stop as well. Overpayment processing would stop, both taking money away from people and paying people. But you'll still get your Social Security checks nonetheless. Mandatory spending. The Social Security Administration are funded under a trust, which is no part of the annual appropriations process. So your payments will continue. Your payments will continue, no matter what. Okay? Any questions about Social Security? I've been in contact with Social Security this week. I've been assured that Social Security payments will not be touched. And in fact, come April, some of us may also see, and I have been told it's not just some of us, but all of us will see an increase in Social Security payments. An increase in our payments for Social Security. Okay? Renee Seppi is asking, I wonder how this will affect your railroad disability. It should be affected. It should not be affected. I'm told all that disability comes from a trust fund. It should not be touched. Okay? Richard Smith says they can still get them fudge rounds. Oh yeah. Unreal. Any other questions about Social Security? Okay, I want to go from here into the Russian-Ukrainian war. A lot has happened over the past 48 hours. Yesterday, our Department of State Secretary, Marco Rubio, he and other State Department officials sat down with Ukrainian and Russian counterparts and hammered out a deal over in Saudi Arabia. They thought it was going to be a 30-day ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. Today, Russian President Putin nixed that. Russia has rejected Ukraine's ceasefire offer. President Putin has announced he will personally call President Trump to discuss a truce. But right now, Putin is not wanting a truce at all, which means Ukraine may still get fired upon. Ukraine may still get fired upon because Russia is not recognizing the ceasefire that President Zelensky wanted. Okay? Which is sad. I actually thought, because of what he had told President Trump over the phone during the last few weeks, that Russia wanted a ceasefire as well. But I guess that's not what President Putin wants. So President Putin is going to call President Trump personally to hammer out a truce. Unreal. Remnant Truth is here. Thank you for being here, Remnant Truth. Appreciate you. Okay. I want to talk about federal workers, fired federal workers. A left-wing federal judge appointed by Bill Clinton has ordered the Trump administration to reinstate thousands of fired federal workers. Now that will be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. That will be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Just because a left-wing federal judge orders something like this. They've done it before about a week ago. That has gone to the U.S. Supreme Court as well. But in this case, it will be a short while before we understand what's going to happen with that federal judge's order. It's a left-wing judge. Okay? Left-wing judges also thrown a wrench into that process as well. And yes, there have been a lot of people fired or let go under what they call a RIP procedure, a reduction in force procedure. That's what a RIP is. It's a reduction in force. Okay? Now let's talk about Senator Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas, if you will. Years ago, Senator Elizabeth Warren started an organization called Act Blue. Act Blue has done a lot of dirty, dastardly things during the past year. Act Blue is organized to benefit left-wing Democrat causes. Since then, Act Blue has been getting federal money and parsing it out to left-wing politicians and their political campaigns. Representative James Comer from the House of Representatives and the FBI are set to file criminal charges against those involved in Act Blue, calling it the largest money laundering scheme in U.S. history. Act Blue has only been part of, guess what? USAID, who is parsing out millions of dollars over the years, every year, to various organizations, including organizations over in Guatemala. Sesame Street, left-wing LGBT Sesame Street over in Iraq. And over in Iraq, $200 million. $200 million to have an LGBTQ opera in Iraq. That's a Muslim country. And yet we put out $200 million to have an LGBTQ opera in Iraq. Unreal. Unreal. Yes, we put a stop to it as of right now. Okay? Now with that, let me get a drink of water here. All right. With that news, guess what? Elon Musk, with his DOGE team, Department of Government Efficiency team, just put out a memo last night. We just hit $190 billion in DOGE savings. DOGE just put out a memo saying they have now recovered $190 billion in DOGE savings, and they've been only working 45 days. Imagine what's going to happen within the next 45 days. Okay? 55,000 Democratic NGOs, non-government organizations, were discovered that have been contributing to campaigns and moving things around and pushing propaganda. Unreal. They were all connected. And they found it through AI, artificial intelligence. They went through step after step after step to figure out where the money was coming from, and it's been funneling down ever since. They shut down USAID. USAID was funding a lot of it. Okay? Hurricane Heather says, is that for real? You know them folks don't like gays or trans. I agree. Yes, it's for real. You can find that out if you go to DOGE.gov, DOGE.gov. Okay? You can go line by line. As they have recovered the money and stopped the payments, they have put it on the internet to show everybody what they're doing. You can find out all that information at DOGE.gov. Okay? Now, this past week and a half, well, actually 2 weeks ago, actually a week and a half ago, on March 3rd, not August 3rd, they haven't even gotten August, March 3rd, President Trump addressed Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, in a joint session. Okay? It was a State of the Union. During the State of the Union, we saw Democrat senators and congressmen sit there on their hands, but they were raising one hand in the air bearing a sign saying, Musk steals. Musk does not steal. Musk does not need the money. He's already a billionaire. He's not stealing anything. He's reclaiming the taxpayer money. Musk isn't after anyone's money, and he tells you exactly what he's doing. This other thing about Elon, Democrats are out telling everyone who will listen that Elon's going to steal everybody's money. He has $400 billion of his own money, and I'm telling you, he's not going to steal from your money or anybody else's. The Democrats were raising all kinds of signs. Every time President Trump said anything, they put up a sign saying false. Okay? They wouldn't even stand up and applaud a young 13-year-old boy who wants to become a police officer, who's already an honorary police officer for 2 different police departments, and he's now an honorary Secret Service agent for our U.S. Secret Service. And he hugged the Secret Service director. And yet our Democrat House of Representatives and Senate sat on their hands and didn't move a limb. They laughed. They thought it was funny. They laughed. They thought it was funny. There's nothing funny about that. The Democrat Party are insolent, bad people. really bad people. They continue to steal our money, waste our money. Okay? Elon Musk is not going to steal any of our money. That's not what he's doing. What he is doing is super genius. And he's being screwed with. And when you've been screwed with by these nitwits that hide behind these three-letter agencies, and you're dealing with one of the smartest people alive, and he helps Donald Trump get in office, and goes on and on, he's not getting paid a dime. He's doing it of his own free will, and he's doing it of the goodness of his heart. He says, I want to find out what kind of corruption is really around. I heard Elon Musk say that the other day. I want to find out what kind of corruption is really around. Well, you screwed up. You picked the wrong psychopath on the spectrum, because he's going to hunt you down. He's going to find out what's going on, and that's good. That's good for everybody. Now, Joe Rogan also said, quote, it's fascinating because it's like all the vampires are out after themselves, sucking each other's blood. Like now, everybody knows who the system is in. If you're just lying, speaking evil about any agency, including USAID, and then they come and hear you talk on a podcast and explain what's really going on. All you're hearing is like starving mothers. There's mothers that can't get food. That's basically totally false. No one's talking any of these mainstream liberal talk shows. No one is talking about all of this fraud and waste. But they are talking about Elon Musk finding it and saying, oh, it's not fraud and waste. Elon Musk says, because we're cutting off their grift machine, that's why they're so upset about it. We're cutting off their grift machine. That's the real thing that they're upset about. If people want to know what DOGE is cutting, and I want to be clear, you can see line by line what DOGE has done at DOGE.gov. Small letters, DOGE.gov, line upon line, receipt after receipt. So whatever we do, we put on DOGE.gov. So you can see everything that's being done. You can look at each line. When people criticize what DOGE is doing, we say which part specifically. Because we put all the actions of the DOGE team on DOGE.gov and on DOGE handle on X. DOGE has a handle on X as well. A bunch of these far left shows will say like, oh, it's a constitutional crisis, blah, blah, blah. Really? It's a constitutional crisis? Why don't they get a life? Why don't they get a life? It's because they don't have one. They are just out there spouting all kinds of hate and discontent. That's pathetic. Joe Shinpa says it's pathetic what the Devon's done. Even the young kid who was accepted to the West Point, they just sat there on their hands. DJ, the 13-year-old young man who at age 7 years previous to this, was in a cancer room at a hospital. Doctors gave him 5 months to live. 7 years later, he's grown into a young man, and he's still having ideas that he's going to become a police officer. And I highly thank him for that. I highly thank him for that. But the Democrats, they're not thanking him. They hope he doesn't die in the process. That's what they said. That's what one Democrat senator said. I hope he doesn't die at the hands of President Trump. Unreal. Uncotton-picking real. These hard-hearted left-wing Democrats. Nothing better to say. Unreal. They won't point out which payments are wrong because they know they're wrong. Last night, Elon Musk said, my challenge to them is to point out which payments are wrong. Yeah, go through it. Go over DOGE.gov. line by line. Point out which payments are wrong. Go through it. Which of these sort of ways where slashing fraud things are wrong? They're slashing fraud. Which one of them are wrong? Which line? We post the receipts, unquote. So when we get criticism, we ask, which line do you disagree with? Which cost savings do you disagree with? And then, people usually can't think of anything. It's transparent line by line. Explain that line to the public. They won't be able to. The left-wing Democrats lie and lie and lie, and they continue doing so. That's one of the reasons that I believe we may not have a government budget by midnight tomorrow night. The House sent them a bill that the House passed that should get this through the Senate. But the Senate has to come up with 60 votes. 60 votes for the bill to pass. The House of Representatives has passed the vote, and they picked up Democrat congressmen. Excuse me. The Republicans in the House picked up Democrat congressmen that also wanted it to pass. That's what they hope will happen in the Senate tomorrow. But the idiot Democrat person in charge over there in the Senate is willing to sit on his hands. You can't get this much better than this. Schumer wants to sit on his hands. He says he doesn't know whether he's going to pass it or let it die. Isn't that unreal? The lead Democrat in the Senate is saying that he may let it die, meaning he may let the government shutdown happen. It's unreal. Let's see what happens in the Senate tomorrow morning. Okay? By noon or even late afternoon, we may see some kind of outcome. It may or not be good. I'm hoping it will pass. And the Senate and the House can get on to bigger and better things. Because if it doesn't pass and the government shuts down, there will be even more real problems. Okay? Now something else has been happening. S. Nord is here. She says a lot are hopeless. I agree. A lot of those people are hopeless. All they want is their way. If it doesn't go their way, they're out to protest. And we have even seen during the past few weeks, good old Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, out on the street, calling for war on the street. Yes, they've called for war out on the street. They wanted violence out on the street. Isn't that unreal? Our own lawmakers wanting war out on the street. Unreal. It's not good. These lawmakers should know better than that. They're older people that should have a head on their shoulders, but they've lost it. Charlene Mayo is saying Senate pandemonium. I agree. That's what I actually would probably see tomorrow. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they're more organized and they're really willing to get their heads together and pass a bill that's going to be good for America. Not good for the Democrats themselves, but good for the entire part of America. Every citizen. Okay? Unreal. Linda Volcano says hopeless and blinded by dollars. That's exactly right. They will not do anything unless it benefits themselves. Okay? It's too bad. If the government shuts down, the Senate and the House will still get paid. Senators and congressmen will still get paid. I wish they would put in a subline in the bill where if it doesn't pass, the senators and the congressmen would not get paid until they hammer it out and pass a bill. That's what they actually need to do. They need to stop payment on themselves. And maybe then they would hammer out a bill that would be good for the people. Unreal. Anyway, let's take another change here. Okay? Let's take another change. I want to go over to climate change or global warming. As I said before, climate change and global warming does not happen. It's false. It doesn't exist. There is no climate change and there is no global warming. It's cyclical. Our planet goes through different cycles. Okay? What the Democrats are saying is wrong. It's false information. Okay? I want to explain something I've said before. Many times I've said this, and I want to make it clear, completely clear today. Okay? Trees take CO2 out of the air. Trees take carbon dioxide out of the air, and they turn it into oxygen. We have people like Bill Gates saying that planting trees to deal with CO2 is ridiculous. He's the one that's ridiculous. He is the one lying to the public. He's been lying to the public for years and years and years. He spent the past 3 years buying up property throughout the United States. Why? So he can sit on it. Sit on it and not let it be productive. That's what Bill Gates has done. What else has he done? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. Trees literally turn CO2 into oxygen, as do other plants around our planet. CO2 is like food for the plants, which is why it's greener today on Earth than it has been in 100 years. Let's talk about COVID and Bill Gates. I said this 4 years ago and I'm saying it again, and I think it needs to be said again. Dr. Tony Fauci. Heidi Patrick just gifted 5 Emergency Management Associates memberships. Juby Joe, April's here, Star Bright is here, Angel Reigns is here, and Enlightened Truth Seeker is here, and they all have been given 1-month memberships here to Emergency Management Associates. I want to thank Heidi Patrick for doing that. Those of you that just received memberships, please thank Heidi Patrick for doing that. God bless you, Heidi. We appreciate you so much. Anyway, getting back to COVID. 4 years ago, I said this and it needs to be said again. Dr. Tony Fauci and Bill Gates were instrumental in unaliving people. Tony Fauci recently said that unvaccinated people were responsible for an additional 200,000 to 300,000 people dying here in America. Fauci said that. Those of us that refuse to get vaccinated were responsible for an additional 200,000 to 300,000 deaths. What a bunch of crock that is. Fauci's lying through his darn teeth. The vaccine that Fauci, Bill Gates, Johnson & Johnson and Moderna and others gave doctors to inject people's arms and butts caused those people to die. Heart attacks and other cardiac-related problems caused by those vaccines. Let's take it a step further. Every doctor that performed an injection was paid to give an injection of the vaccine to patients. Every doctor was paid by the company. Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, or whoever made the vaccine was paying the doctors to do it. Joe Rogan and Mike Pence exposed how USAID funded NGOs. Okay? They funded NGOs, Internews, and CEPPS, the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening. Unreal. CEPPS is comprised of non-profit, non-partisan, non-governmental organizations dedicated to advancing and supporting democratic practices and institutions around the globe. Who got their money from USAID? The EcoHealth Alliance did. The EcoHealth Alliance financed the Wuhan lab and the Global Propaganda Network and the online censorship of American citizens, including me. Because 4 years ago, I had my other channel. My other channel had 26,000 people when YouTube shut down. Because the Biden administration came along and told those social media giants to censor us and shut us down. And they did. I started this present channel 2 years ago. And now we have 6,439. 6,430 subscribers. 6,430 subscribers. YouTube has taken 12 people down. YouTube has taken 12 people off our subscriber list over the last week and a half. YouTube has taken 12 off. Why? Because they don't want this channel to progress. I'm asking all of you now, go through your subscription and make sure you're still subscribed to this channel. If you're not, please resubscribe. And when you resubscribe, there's something else you need to do. There's a little bell icon right next to the subscription button. Click on that bell icon. When you click on that bell icon, a drop-down menu of 3 items will come up. Click on the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air. We come on the air between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Okay? Check and make sure you're subscribed. Those people that are on this program right now, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We need you here. And if you're subscribed here, I would ask all of you also to share this program with everybody you know. We talked a lot about things here that are pertinent to everybody here, everybody around the globe. So please share it with everybody you know. Okay? Now back to this pandemic. The EcoHealth Alliance, financed by USAID, financed the Wuhan lab, a global propaganda network, and the online censorship of American citizens. You sponsored our own state censorship. In my opinion, Richard Lyles just gave us a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, Richard. God bless you for that. We needed that. We need a lot more just like that. God bless you for that, Richard. We appreciate you so much. Richard says super effective. I appreciate that. I hope we are. Now, Richard, you are the man, Michael says. I agree. In my opinion, anyone who tells you that the vaccine saved people's lives were lying through their teeth, including Dr. Tony Fauci and Bill Gates. Bill Gates is not a doctor. Bill Gates never went through training to become a physician. But guess what Fauci and Bill Gates did? They engineered the vaccine. They engineered COVID. They engineered the disease to be released from the Wuhan lab. And the Chinese lied to us, saying it was bats that released the virus. Bullcrap. Bill Gates engineered the virus. Bill Gates himself engineered the virus. He engineered the virus years before he and Fauci let it go from the Wuhan lab. Exposed thousands of people in China who left China after the great big huge Chinese New Year, and they left China going all around the globe, including here in the US and Europe, spreading the disease. Bill Gates did it. Bill Gates engineered COVID, and I can prove it. I can prove it. Bill Gates and Fauci did it. They also organized the vaccine that is killing people. The mRNA part, the spike protein part of the vaccine has killed people. That's also proven. Bill Gates and Fauci have been in bed together with this COVID-19 BS. Bill Gates helped develop the illness. He helped develop the vaccine for it years before it happened. Years before it was let loose. How can Bill Gates not be liable for unaliving people? How can Bill Gates not be liable for unaliving people that got COVID and also took the vaccine that he developed? Unreal. Now, before I leave here today, yes, I'm going to talk about earthquakes worldwide in just a few minutes. The next thing I want to talk about are biolabs. Biolabs, guys. Our U.S. Pentagon, our U.S. military has admitted that 46 biolabs exist in Ukraine. 46 biolabs exist in Ukraine. Why is our Pentagon admitting it? It should be the CIA. Yes, we have a new CIA director. We have a new FBI director. Guess what? The Pentagon admitted that there are 46 biolabs in Ukraine. In a statement released yesterday, the Pentagon admitted that there are 46 biolabs in Ukraine as part of a project to rid the world of weapons of mass destruction. Really? Really? What are those biolabs for? Weapons of mass destruction. And they are saying that the biolabs were a project to rid the world of weapons of mass destruction. What a crock that is. 46 biolabs. The Pentagon is talking about it. Unreal. Yes, Michael McCurney, 46. Unreal. Now, there's more than that. More Democrat shenanigans happen in California. In a few minutes, I'm going to let you see an interview of a Democrat or a California sheriff, a conservative sheriff out of Riverside County, California. He's running for governor of California now against Newscomb. NEWSCUM, Newscomb, the current California governor. California sheriff is speaking out against a bill in the Democrat-controlled capital of Sacramento that he says would essentially make self-defense illegal, making self-defense illegal in California. And he believes it's emblematic of liberal policies putting people in danger in California. After Assembly Bill 1333 was introduced in California 2 weeks ago, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco gained traction on social media with a post relating and reacting to the bill, which he says will essentially make self-defense illegal in California. Los Angeles Assembly member Rick Zubar, ZBUR. Rick Zubar introduced the bill which he says aims to narrow the criteria for justifiable homicide. Narrowing the criteria for justifiable homicide. But Sheriff Bianco told Fox News Digital that the bill would just further embolden criminals. That bill will embolden criminals. Mr. Zeber, the assembly member, has come up with this. If it was his idea, he certainly has absolutely no business being an assembly member representing people. What Sheriff Bianco said, and what my knowledge is of things happen in Sacramento, I'm not giving him an out, because he has certainly had some talking points for this bill. But these are bills written by special interest groups, and the majority of the special interests in Sacramento are pro-criminal. Sheriff Bianco continued, they want criminals to thrive. It's just bizarre to me how you can even have the thought process that says people should not be able to protect themselves is beyond me. Honestly, I don't understand it, and I've never seen a sane, legitimate argument otherwise. Unreal. Uncotton-picking real. Bianco told Fox News that the bill will make it more difficult for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves from violent criminals. This is basically saying, if someone approaches you as going to rob you or steal your stuff or harm you, your option is to only run, and then the criminals get whatever they want. If they're going to steal your car and or your purse or your wallet or to harm your wife or kids. Your only option is to run away from them, according to the bill. And the criminals get to do whatever they want to do. And you just have to run away. This is the absolute ultimate display of zero consequence. Zero consequence for criminal behavior. Unreal. Renee Seppi here in the chat says unarmed people who can't protect themselves are easy to take over and control. And that's exactly what this bill does in California. That's exactly what the Democrat Party want to have done. They've emboldened criminals in California. That's one reason I left. I've explained that in previous episodes of this program. That is one reason why I left California. The criminals were hunting for me because I was a law enforcement officer. They were hunting for me. Okay? Sheriff Bianco is running for governor of California as of 2 weeks ago. He's on the ground talking to Californians every day, and he has yet to run into someone who supports his bill, except the Democrat who wrote it and his communist sympathizers in the California Assembly, and also Governor Newsom. Yes, Governor Newsom. There is no one, Bianco said. There is no one other than Democrats in Sacramento who think that this is a good idea. And then the beautiful part of this is based on what I did. A viral video calling him out and making people call and demand better. And then other people doing the same thing. We exposed it. So this bill, there's no way this bill is ever going to pass. It is unclear when the bill will be heard on the floor of the California State Assembly. And Assemblyman Zeber has said that he plans to revise the bill and to make it more clear. When this bill is focused on is someone who goes out in public, picks a fight, and when the victim responds, they shoot them and claim self-defense. Assemblyman Zeber said about the bill, hopefully they will remove it from the floor like they should, but this is going to happen to every single bill. They need to be put on notice that the light is going to be shined very bright in that dark little pit they call the Assembly floor, and the Senate floor in California. These bills are harming Californians. He says, I'm going to be holding a flashlight, and there is no sane person who thinks that this is a good idea. There's no dad who believes that he shouldn't be able to protect his wife or daughter. There's no woman that believes that he or she should not be able to defend herself against any attacker. And for these people in Sacramento, these lawmakers to come up with these types of bills, it's truly disgusting that they would even think this is okay. Sheriff Chad Bianco, let me show you this video, then I'll continue this here.
This assembly member that has come up with this, if that was his idea, he certainly has absolutely no business being an assembly member representing people. And what my knowledge is of how things happen in Sacramento, I'm not giving him an out because he certainly had some talking points for this bill, but these are bills written by special interest groups, and the majority of the special interest in Sacramento is pro-criminal, ACLU, those types of people who, they are the ones that actually write the bills. The majority of bills presented by Democrats in California are written by the ACLU, and they care more about criminals. I mean, they want criminals to thrive, and it's just bizarre to me. So how you could even have the thought process that said people should not be able to protect themselves is beyond me. I honestly, I don't understand it, and I've never heard a sane, legitimate argument otherwise. And especially in California now, where we are our public safety is in disarray. We were very successful last year passing Prop 36, which basically outlined the complete dysfunction of Sacramento as our legislature relates to public safety. And 70%, nearly 3/4 of the state said we want a different direction. And yet we still have bills like this. There's others, but this has so far been the most egregious, that they're still trying to get signed into law, that they're only for criminals. I mean, this is basically saying, if someone approaches you and is going to rob you or steal your stuff or harm you, your only option is to run, and they get whatever they want. If they're there to steal your car or your purse or your wallet or harm your wife or your kids, your only option is to run away from them. They get to do whatever it is they want, and you just have to run away. And this is like the absolute ultimate display of zero consequence for criminal behavior. Because I will tell you this, if someone comes at me and my wife and we are out to dinner leaving a restaurant and they approach us and our lives are in danger, they will be dying rather quickly. And that's exactly how it should be. That's the consequence for that severe and that dangerous of action. So if you're going to attack someone's life, threaten someone's life, cause great bodily injury to them, the consequence to you of death, that's a consequence. You should be concerned with that. And maybe you wouldn't do it. If we're going to come up with a law that says there is no more consequence for you to go out and beat somebody or rape somebody or steal their purse, attack them, whatever the case may be, if there's no consequence, then we're just going to make criminal behavior. Crime definitely does pay. I mean, that's really what you're saying. There is no one other than the Democrats in Sacramento who think this is a good idea. And then the beautiful part of this is, based on what I did, a viral video calling him out and making people call and demand better, and then other people doing the same thing, we exposed it. So this bill, there's no way this bill is ever going to pass. Hopefully they remove it from the floor like they should. But this is going to happen to every single bill. They need to be put on notice that the light is going to be shine very bright in that dark little pit they call the Assembly floor and the Senate floor on these bills that are harming Californians. And I'm going to be holding the flashlight. And there is no sane person that thinks this is a good idea. There's no dad that thinks that believes that he shouldn't be able to protect his daughter or his wife. There's no woman that believes that she should not be able to defend herself against an attacker. And for these people in Sacramento, these lawmakers, to come up with these type of bills, it truly is disgusting that they would even think this is okay. We have absolutely seen a change in California. We have 9 Democrats that are running for governor or something like that. A lot of Democrats running for governor that are running campaign funding ads against me, and I hadn't even announced yet. But they're using the MAGA. They're using this crazy, just this fear-mongering, this crazy agenda that they had that didn't work with Trump. I mean, Trump showed that the country is different. We're behaving different. We believe different. We think different. And I will tell you a perfect example of knowing that the Democrats understand this also is we are seeing a complete overhaul of Governor Newsom's persona by him. He is trying to make a complete marketing change of who he really is because he knows that what he's done for the last 6 years as the governor is a complete failure. And now he's trying to act like he's for public safety in this last year, even though he was completely against Prop 36. He's now acting like he's friends with our federal government, with our Republican lawmakers and our Republican president, but yet he's been absolutely childish and disgusting for the last 6 years when it came to any Republican. So he knows that their agenda and their political ideology is no longer working. It's fringe. He is in the absolute fringe, and that is not where mainstream Californians are. And they're trying to remake themselves now, and it's not all of them. I mean, the governor is maybe a little bit smarter than the rest of them because he's trying to distance himself from that lunacy. But as we see from this bill, that there are still lawmakers in Sacramento that still believe their ideological agenda is working, and that people want that or believe that. And the fact is they don't.
Unreal. The fact of the matter is the Californians don't believe it at all. They don't. I don't. Again, I used to live there. I want to thank Heidi Patrick, because while we were playing that video of Chad Bianco, who's the sheriff of Riverside County, now running for governor, while we were playing that, Heidi Patrick gifted us a $50 super chat. Said she hoped it would help. Yes, it does help. Thank you so much, Heidi. God bless you. But Chad Bianco is absolutely right. He mentioned the fact that if he and his wife were out to dinner or doing something together, and someone tried to hurt either one of them, the people that would try to do that would be unalived immediately. They would be unalived immediately, and that's exactly what I've said before. If someone was to hurt my family members or my wife, my daughters, my boys, guess what? Or my grandkids, those people would not be breathing again. Those people would not be breathing again. I guarantee it. I wouldn't allow it. Lena Volcano says there's a new sheriff in town, God willing. I agree. I totally agree. Okay? Joe Shinpla says maybe when the socialists and the actors get jacked up, they will sing a different song. Yes, they will. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Really? You didn't mean to hurt him? Really? Try it again. They're going to sing a different song. What if someone tried to hurt one of those lawmakers? What would they do? Would they do the same thing that they're asking all of us to do, is run away? I don't think so. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. What is good for the goose is good for the gander, I guarantee you. I promise you that that's the way it is. Okay? President Trump is expected to invoke the Alien Enemies Act, wartime law that allows the president to detain or deport citizens of an enemy nation as part of efforts to carry out mass deportations, according to U.S. officials. Okay? He's invoking the Alien Enemies Act. It was a wartime law that allows the president to detain or deport the citizens of an enemy nation as part of efforts to carry out mass deportations, according to U.S. officials. Okay? That's what's going on. Hurricane Heather says, who are we judging? I'm not going to judge anybody. But you try to hurt somebody that I love and care about, you're toast. Brokefish Inn said their bodyguards will use force. I agree. They would. Just as Chad Bianco said he would. And I'm telling you right now, I would. I would not allow it to happen. Not now, not ever. That I promise you. Let's go over it real quick before we end this program. I want to go over to the USGS map just for a few minutes. Let's take a look at it. There's a lot happening here throughout this world. Okay? Let's take a look at it. Now, remember, Remember this, the USGS will never tell us what's actually happening. The information they're showing here is just minor. Just minor. Okay? They're not going to show us actual activity because they don't want us to know it. Okay? They don't want us to know what's going on. Let's start over here, over in Italy. Like we said earlier, the supervolcano is moving. Magma is moving beneath the surface, and we may see an eruption very soon. We may see the supervolcano erupt here very soon. Campi Flegrei, Italy. Like I said, they've been evacuating people from the area here near the volcano for quite some time now. But it may still erupt here. Here we have a 4.2 earthquake here. A 4.2 earthquake here. This earthquake occurred at 8:25 UTC, which is about 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay? 4.2 earthquake here. That's in Italy. They're still not showing all the earthquakes here in Greece. There are 18 earthquakes here in Greece. There's about 14 earthquakes here in the Aegean Sea. Why here? Because again, we have magma beneath the surface here that's generating here for a possible eruption of the volcano right in this area. Okay? Right here. Right here. This is that same island, Santorini, where we had people evacuating the city. 40% evacuation of Santorini, the island here. North of here, Argos. We have 2 underwater volcanoes out here, and they may yet erupt. They may yet erupt. Okay? USGS not showing that either. They're not showing any earthquakes here in Turkey. Why not? Earthquakes in northern Turkey, southern Turkey, and central Turkey, and even western Turkey. Earthquakes off the shore of western Turkey here are in what they call the Dokkanese Islands, just like the Dokkanese Islands where Santorini is. They're part of the Dokkanese Islands that belong to Greece. Okay? Earthquakes here. Why are they not showing them? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay? Now, over here, eastern Turkey. Eastern Turkey. Over here we have the Anatolian Fault. The Anatolian Fault here, dividing Syria and Turkey. 2 years ago, February 3rd, 2023, we had a major 9.0, 10.0 earthquake here. 16 earthquakes here today. Aftershocks from an earthquake, a major earthquake that happened here 2 years ago. USGS is still not showing all the earthquakes here either. None of them. None of them. What's the problem with that? Earthquakes happening here in Iraq and Iran. Why are they not showing those? Inquiring minds want to know. We all do. We all do. Down here in southeast, actually you can't see southeastern, but over here in Ethiopia, we still have earthquakes happening here. Why? Because this fault line here, this fault line, it's opening up. There's a fissure that's open up here. And very soon we may see a full separation of land here. Full separation of land as the fissure still opens up here. It's going to happen. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. Let's go over here. Okay, this is northern India. This is north, actually probably the northernmost part of India here. This is a large 5.1 earthquake here. 5.1 earthquake. They're still not showing the earthquakes in Afghanistan and Tajikistan to the northwest. Not showing them. Why? Another earthquake over here east of there. This is in Rikazi, China. Over on the Chinese side of the Himalaya Mountains. This is a 4.3 earthquake here. 4.3 earthquake here. Okay? USGS is still not showing any earthquakes here in Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. Why? Earthquakes down here in Sumatra, Indonesia. Not showing those either. Why not? Why not? East of Java here. They're showing this 4.8 here near Potano, Indonesia. 10 kilometers deep. 6.2 miles deep. Interesting. East of there, over here near Timor-Leste. We've had dozens of earthquakes here lately. This is just another 5.0 large earthquake here. We've had at least 6 5.0 large earthquakes here in the past 2 weeks. This is 158 kilometers deep. Unreal. While we are over here on the southwestern side of the Pacific Ocean, up here, Luzon, Philippines. Luzon, Philippines here. This is a 4.6 earthquake. A moderate 4.6 earthquake here, 10 kilometers deep. They're not showing all the earthquakes here in the Philippines either. There's more earthquakes down here near Mindanao, Philippines here as well. Not showing them. Why? Inquiring minds want to know. Furthermore, over here in Taiwan. Taiwan, guys, guess what? Today, this happened at 1:09 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, a large 5.2 earthquake over here in Taiwan. We've had dozens of earthquakes here in the past year. This is 96 kilometers south of Hualien City, Taiwan. It's out here in the ocean. For the most part, I'm not saying at all, but for the most part, nobody felt this earthquake. Very few people felt this earthquake. Why? Because it's offshore. I believe it was far enough offshore that nobody felt it. 50 miles offshore. 50 miles offshore. 27 kilometers deep. Okay? We've had dozens of earthquakes like this. This was a 5.2 large earthquake. We go over here into the Kuril Islands north of Hokkaido, Japan. These islands belong to Russia. We have another 4.6 earthquake here today, a moderate 4.6. Okay? The seismic energy here you see on this fault line, it's going to go up here, and it's going to go up here to central Russia here, just off the island, or not the island, but the peninsula of Kamchatka. Then that seismic energy is going to continue through the Aleutian Island chain here. Huge Aleutian Island chain here. This is one of the largest fault zones in the world. Okay? Down here in the central part of the Aleutian Islands. Unreal. This is near Adak, Alaska. 20 kilometers west-southwest of Adak, Alaska. It's a 1.7 tremor. 1.7 tremor. We go further east. Earthquake here. This is just south and west of Unalaska Volcano. There's a volcano here. This is a 0.1 microquake. 0.1 microquake. Let's go further east here. This is near King Cove, Alaska. 35 kilometers southeast of King Cove, Alaska. This is a 2.0 earthquake. We go further north here. This is Ivanov Bay, Alaska. 6 kilometers, 3 miles southeast of Ivanov Bay, a 1.4 tremor. Up here, right here. This is 25 kilometers north of Ivanov Bay. It's 0.3 microquake. What do we have here? It's a volcano, guys. A volcano. We have 3. Actually, I believe we have 4 little tiny quakes here. Okay? This is a 0.0 alleged surface quake. This is not a surface quake, guys. This is actually 2 miles deep. 4.6 kilometers deep, 2 miles deep inside the volcano. Not a surface quake at all. Okay? They're calling it 0.0 surface quake. It's not. North of here, north and west of that, Another quake, a 0.2 microquake here near Chignik Lake, Alaska. Again, all three of these seismic events are on either side of the volcano here, on the southern side and the north side of this volcano here. I want to point that out. The volcanoes are rumbling, guys. The volcanoes are rumbling. Further north, Chignik Lagoon. This is a minus 0.1. But it's not above sea level, guys. Minus numbers are usually shown to be above sea level. This is not. This is 4 miles deep, 9.5 kilometers deep. Okay? 9.5 kilometers deep. That was a 0.1 microquake. This is a 0.2, 11 kilometers deep. It's interesting how this earthquake could be a 0.2 and this other earthquake could be a minus 0.1. This one is 4 miles, a little over 4 miles deep. This is almost 5 miles deep. Unreal. And look what's here. Look what's here. Can you say another volcano? Another volcano, look at that. Unreal. Over here closer to the shore of the Cook Inlet here. The Cook Inlet. This is a 1.8 tremor here, 62 kilometers east of Chignik, Alaska. Unreal. Okay? Out here in the Gulf, not the Gulf of Alaska, over here in the Cook Inlet. This is a 3.1 earthquake here. 148 kilometers southwest of Agniak, Alaska. Agniak, Alaska. Okay? Another earthquake here. Guess what? This is a 2.0 earthquake here. What is it? Kodiak Island, Alaska. Then we go further to the northwest. We have a volcano here. Old Ililama Volcano. Old Ililama Volcano. Just like Mount Spurr, just like Mount Redoubt and other volcanoes. All of these volcanoes are recharging. See all these earthquakes here? Old Ililama Volcano is having earthquakes. Old Ililama Volcano is having earthquakes. Down here to the south, they have this as a minus 0.5 microquake. Okay? 0.5 kilometers deep. This may be above sea level. This may be above sea level because it's in the mountainous region here on the peninsula of Alaska. We go further north. They have this as a 0.6, minus 0.6 microquake here. Okay? It's just south of Old Ililama Volcano. Just about 0.8 kilometers deep. Okay? At the volcano. At the volcano. Right here, just on the southeast side of Old Ililama. Minus 0.5. Guess what? This is a mile and a half deep. There is no way in heck that this is above sea level. This is a mile and a half deep, 2.9 kilometers deep. Unreal. Out here further to the east, they have this as a minus 0.7. This is 5.8 kilometers deep, nearly 3 miles deep. It's not above sea level, guys. USGS continues to lie to us. Let's go to the west here, northwest. Over here on the north side of Old Ililama, we have another minus 0.4. Folks, this is also nearly 3 miles deep. It's not a minus number at all. USGS continues to lie to us. Okay? Over here to the west, another minus 0.5. This one is a mile and a half deep. It's nowhere near above sea level at all. Seismic energy around the volcanoes, guys. Seismic energy around the volcanoes. Let's go further north here in the Cook Inlet. This is a 1.5 tremor here. This is 62 kilometers deep. Pretty deep earthquake. Pretty deep earthquake here, guys. It's unreal. Totally unreal. Let's continue here. Okay, let's go up here. Okay, this is a 1.8 tremor also here in the Cook Inlet. Okay, right up here. What do we have going up here? Right here. This is a 0.9 microquake. 1.0 tremor. Anything 0.9, I believe it's another step up from that. So let's call this a 1.0 tremor. This is 65 kilometers deep. 65 kilometers deep. What do we have out here to the west? Let's call it Mount Redoubt right here. Mount Redoubt right here. Right here. Okay? They say this is a minus 0.5 microquake. Minus. This could be. This could be above sea level. This is a quarter of a mile deep. A quarter of a mile deep. Probably 1,700 feet deep. At a volcano. At a volcano here, guys. At a volcano. Unreal. Unreal. Further north here. Nikiski, Alaska, 0.4 microquake here. This is 3 miles deep here. Okay, let's continue north here. Right here. Point Possession, Alaska, 1.4 tremor, 27 kilometers deep. Come further north here, northeast here, also 24 kilometers east-southeast of Point Possession, 1.8 tremor. This is 38 kilometers deep. Further northeast here at 1.7 tremor, this is Hope, Alaska, 15 kilometers west-southwest of Hope, Alaska. Let's go over here. Guess what we have here? Mount Spurr. Look at these earthquakes. This is a minus 0.6. This is a half mile deep. Just over a half mile deep. Mount Spurr. Okay? Look at this. Minus 0.8. This is a mile and a half deep. Okay? This is a 0.6. This is a mile and a half deep here. Over here on the north side, 1.6 tremor here. Over here, 0.2 microquake here. I'm sorry I didn't have this map pulled down. This is Mount Spurr. This is Mount Spurr. Over on the other side here, right here, this is Anchorage, Alaska right here. Anchorage, Alaska. Okay? This is one of the waterways here that if and when Mount Spurr does erupt, this could be subject to flooding here of mud flows from the volcano. Mud and ash from the volcano. 1.3 tremor here, 12 kilometers south of Susitna, Alaska. We go north. Right up here. This is a 1.1 tremor here, 13 kilometers east-northeast of Susitna, Alaska. Unreal. Let's continue this. Right here. This is a 3.0 earthquake at Houston, Alaska. Houston, Alaska, guys. Look where the fault lines are here. Look where these fault lines are here. That's why this earthquake hit. Fault lines, guys. Fault lines. See this river here? Fault lines typically run underneath the rivers. This is a 1.1 tremor here, 12 kilometers south of Talkeetna, Alaska. 12 kilometers, 6 miles south of Talkeetna, Alaska. There's plenty of seismic energy here. Let's go up here to Denali, southeast of Mount McKinley. This is a 2.7 earthquake, 87 kilometers deep. Let's go up here to the east side of Mount McKinley. 1.7 tremor here. USPS is labeling these 65 kilometers north-northeast of Petersville, Alaska. They should be labeling them as Denali, Alaska. These are in Denali National Park, Alaska. Okay? This one here is just barely over here on the west side, the west flank of Mount McKinley. It's a 1.8 tremor. This here is 26 kilometers deep. Further to the north here, this is a 1.8 tremor here. I'm sorry again, I didn't have the map pulled down far enough. This is a 1.8 tremor here. It's in Denali, Alaska, and this happens to be labeled right. This is in Denali, Alaska. But they labeled it wrong because they say it's east-southeast of Denali. It's not. It's on the northwest side of Denali. So they have labeled it wrong. They have put it at Denali, but they've labeled it south when it's north. Again, USGS cannot get their directions right. This earthquake here, right here, this is a 2.2 earthquake. This is southwest of Cantwell, Alaska. We have more earthquakes further north here. Okay? This is Salta, Alaska, 2.5. Why are we having these 4 earthquakes here? 2 years ago, or I should say nearly 2 years ago, we had a large 5.0 earthquake right here. Now we are still having aftershocks. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake here. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here. This is a 1.4 tremor here. And just south of there, this is a 1.4 near 4 Mile Road, Alaska. 4 Mile Road, Alaska. Further north up here in the Arctic Circle, they've, at the beginning of this program, we were notified by Earthquake Tracker that I have on my other device that we had a 5.2 earthquake, and USGS has downgraded this to 5.1. This came in as a 5.2 earthquake here in Ambler, Alaska. I think Richard put it out at the beginning of the program. I heard it come out over my Earthquake Tracker. I told you guys about it. Okay, a 5.2 earthquake. They've downgraded to 5.1. This north-northwest of Ambler, Alaska. They have this as north-northeast. It's north-northwest of Ambler, Alaska. Okay? Now, over here in what I call the Hand of Alaska here, western Alaska, we have another 4.0 earthquake here. A moderate 4.4 earthquake, 55 kilometers east of Teller, Alaska. It's west of Teller, Alaska, guys. West of Teller, Alaska. Off the coast of western Alaska here. We have a 3.2 small quake here. This is 6.5 kilometers deep, 3 miles deep. This is 2.6 here. Now, we had a large 5.0 earthquake here the other day. We had a 5.0 earthquake here just a couple days ago. These are aftershocks of that 5.0 earthquake here. Okay? Do we have any questions here? These earthquakes are in the Arctic Circle here. They're in the Arctic Circle here. Yes, we have more earthquakes here in the Pacific Northwest. That's going to happen. That is absolutely going to happen. These earthquakes are at the volcanoes. Volcano here. This is Mount Rainier. Supposedly a minus 0.2 below sea level, but this is not below sea level. This is 2 miles deep. 2 miles deep. Further north up here in the Puget Sound area, this is a 1.0 tremor here. Hadlock, Irondale, Washington. Port Hadlock, Irondale, Washington here at the Puget Sound. 1.0 tremor. This is Inglewood, Finn Hill, Washington, 1.6. Also over here in the Puget Sound area, 1.5. Bainbridge Island, Washington. Further south here, this is a 1.8 near Elk Plain, Washington here. Okay? Further south here, Government Camp, Oregon. Mount Hood. Mount Hood here. They say this is 8 kilometers northeast of Mount Hood. Really? It's at Mount Hood. This is at Mount Hood. USGS needs to stop lying to people. This is not 8 kilometers, 4 miles northeast of Government Camp or north of Mount Hood. This is in Mount Hood. This is a half-mile deep. This 1.0 tremor here is a half-mile deep inside Mount Hood. USGS, stop lying to the people. Give us the exact locations where these earthquakes hit. Stop lying to the people. I pointed it out, and you're lying to the people. And I'm going to take you to task every time you do it. More earthquakes over here in Northern California. These are the geysers area here. The geysers area here is a common seismic area. Why? Because men have dabbled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano here to the north. This is the Clear Lake volcano. They've dug into the upper magma chambers of this volcano to obtain steam to power turbines here in the geysers facility. Sonoma County, California. Sonoma County, California. Guess what? There are 81 turbine facilities all over this area. 81 turbine facilities all over this area. I believe we stumbled on one right here, and I'm right. Right there on your map here, on your screen, is a turbine facility here in the geysers. There are 81 different turbines all the way around the geysers facility here. All over. All over. Up here to the northwest, 1.1 tremor here. I'm just pointing some of these out. This is a 1.5 tremor. Right next to it here is a 1.1 tremor. Right here, this is 1.0 tremor. Guess what we have here? Another facility, don't we? Again, these turbine facilities are all over this area. Literally all over the mountainsides here in Sonoma County, California. All over here. Everywhere you see a road are plastic piping, taking the steam that comes out of the drill points, taking the steam from the drill points all the way over to the turbines to generate electricity here. The geysers facility provides power to 4 energy conglomerates, one of them being Pacific Gas and Electric, another one supplying electricity to Utah. Unreal. Unreal. Right here, this is another 1.1 tremor that just happened here in the geysers. 1.1 tremor, this is a mile deep. Right here, this is another one. It's a 1.1 tremor here. This is also a mile deep. Unreal. Everywhere where there's a drill point, we will have earthquakes. Why? Because everywhere where there's a hole in the ground that man has dug, everywhere where there's a hole in the ground that man has dug, whether it's for steam from a volcano or oil and gas, seismic energy is going to seek it out, and it's going to fracture rock at the drill point. That's why we're seeing these earthquakes here. Seismic energy hitting the drill point, causing fracturing rock, causing the earth to move. That's why we have earthquakes. Here, another facility here. Okay? Let's just glide over this area and see if we can find some more. I think we already showed this one here. Okay? Let's see if we can find some more here. I think there's another facility right there. We have some drill points here as well. Drill points right there. Drill points right there. A Like I said, everywhere where we have a road, you're going to see, if you can get close enough on the map, and on my device I can do it. On the USGS map here I can't. But everywhere where there's a road, there's plastic piping taking that steam to a turbine facility to generate electricity here in the geysers facility. Happening every day. Every day. Let's look at this one here. Okay? Right here. There's another turbine facility right there. Unreal. Unreal. This is a drill point here. There's another turbine facility here. Like I said, there are 81 turbines throughout the Sonoma County geysers area here. 81 different turbines that are providing power to San Diego, or to, not San Diego, to Pacific Gas and Electric, and to Rocky Mountain Power, and two other energy conglomerates, one of which I believe is Southern California Edison. And I don't remember what the other one is. But that's what's going on here. This place has at least 20 to 30 earthquakes every day. 20 to 30 earthquakes every day. Most of these are tremors, but occasionally we get 2.0 and even 3.5, and occasionally a moderate 4.0 plus earthquake. Every day. Every day. Okay, that's what's going on there. We go further south down here into San Francisco Bay. Right here. This earthquake here is on the Calaveras Fault. This is Concord, California. 2.4 earthquake here, minor earthquake. Down here on the Hayward Fault. This is San Ramon, California. This is a 1.6 tremor here. This is on the east side of San Francisco Bay. On the west side, right here, on this red line here, this is the San Andreas Fault. Coming off the Triple Junction to the north, that is just offshore of Petrolia, California. The San Andreas Fault continues to run southbound here. Over here to the east, we have red earthquake, just happened. Seven Trees, California. 1.3 tremor here. This is on the Hayward Fault. Down in this area, both the San Andreas, the Hayward, and the Calaveras Fault come together. One of the most dangerous areas here around just east of Monterey Bay. One of the most dangerous areas where the Calaveras, the Hayward, and the San Andreas Fault come together. This is San Juan Bautista, California, 1.7 tremor. Further south here is on the Calaveras. This is Los Banos, 1.7 tremor here. We can go south here. All the way down here along the San Andreas Fault, come down here. What do we have here? Castaic, California. Castaic, California, northeast of Los Angeles. This is a 1.4 tremor. They're hardly showing any earthquakes at all in the LA area. None. None. They're showing this earthquake right here. Okay? This is Moreno Valley, Orange County, California. This is a 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake here in Orange County. To the southeast, Banning, California. This is on the San Andreas. Banning, California, 1.5 on the San Andreas. Further south on the San Andreas, we have a 1.1 tremor here, Morongo Valley, California. San Andreas. We come further southwest. This is the San Jacinto Fault. Idlewild, California. Idlewild, California. I've talked about Idlewild before. This is in the Anza Gap area. The Anza Gap area. Okay? Have a lot of earthquakes here. This is 0.5 Anza Gap. Right next to it, another 0.5. We go further south. 1.1 here. This is in the Anza Brego Desert area of northeast San Diego County. northeast San Diego County. This is a 1.0. This is a 0.9 1.0. Right next to it is a 0.5 here near La Quinta, California. This is an RV resort out here in northeast San Diego County. We go south here, also on the San Jacinto. This is a 0.9 microquake, 1.0 tremor here in Borrego Springs, part of the Anza Borrego Desert State Park, northeast San Diego County. Further south, also in Borrego Springs, 1.3 tremor. Let's go over into San Diego further out to the west. Julian, good old Julian, California, apple capital of San Diego. In the fall, they harvest apples off the trees here in Julian. You can go over here to Julian every day. Every day. Starting tomorrow would be a good day. Friday, they just had a snowpack here. A storm just blew through here in San Diego County. They had more snow. Guess what? They have restaurants, they have bed and breakfast, and a three small hotels here in Julian. You can go up here for the day at least. Have hot apple pie and a good meal here at several of the Julian restaurants. And hot apple cider. I've talked about Julian before. They ought to pay me to talk about Julian. I love Julian, California. I personally been there. I love Julian, California. Guess what? Let's go out here to the west. One of the places where I used to live. This is just north of Lakeside, California. North of Lakeside. Guess what? This is a reservoir. Now I don't remember what the reservoir is called. This is a reservoir. This is not a quarry blast. This is out in the water of this reservoir. Okay? It's a 1.4 tremor here. USGS, see that symbol there? Looks like a yield sign. Looks like a yield sign. It's not a quarry blast. This symbolizes an explosion or a quarry blast here. It's not. The quarries are further to the south and west. This is out in the reservoir. This is a 1.4 tremor here. Again, USGS, get your minds out of the gutter here. Be honest with us about where these earthquakes are and what they are. This is not a quarry blast. This is a tremor here. Lakeside, California. Lakeside, California, guys. I've been there. I've been there. Right here is Lakeside, California, where I used to live. I've been all over this area. I'm sorry, this is Lake Jennings. This is Lake Jennings. That just came to me. This is Lake Jennings over here in Lakeside. Okay? Lake Jennings, California. Unreal. Lakeside is down here. I used to live here. In fact, I used to live right off here. Folks, this is Highway 67, State Highway 67. I used to live here. I used to live right here. That's where I used to live. Right across the street was the rodeo grounds. I was at 2 different rodeos. I helped provide security and I helped provide law enforcement coverage for the rodeos. Yes, I was a cop. Okay? I used to live here in Lakeside, California. Unreal. I know this area very well. Okay? Yes, Cowboy Rogers is talking about Brian over on the other channel, and he's talking about what's going on with the repositioning of the equator and what's going on with the magnetic field lines. Magnetic field lines are changing, which are causing earthquakes. And yes, there have been people saying that the magnetic field lines have nothing to do with earthquakes. They're so wrong. They're so wrong. USPS is not showing any earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley. They're so wrong as well. There are over 500 earthquakes here in the southern Imperial Valley here. 500 earthquakes here today. What else is here? We talked about this earlier this week on Monday. Right here. This is the Salton Butte volcano right here. The Salton Butte volcano right here. The Salton Butte volcano is an active volcano. A very active volcano here. Okay? Don Patoka says slipped on the ice, but no ice, LOL. Don, be careful, brother. Be careful. I know it's been raining and or snowing in different parts of Salt Lake City. My kids live there, and my one daughter was headed to work earlier this morning and said that it was raining there in Magna, Utah, where she goes to work. Magna, Utah. Where have we heard that before? Magna, Utah is right here. What do we know about Magna, Utah? Back on March 18th, 2018. Actually, it's 2019. March 18th, 2019. We had an earthquake here. A 5.6 earthquake. 5.6 earthquake. Large earthquake here. Magna, Utah. I lived farther down where Dawn lives in Sandy. I lived far down in Sandy. I'm sorry, that was not Magna. That was over here in Calipatria. Let's go over here to Salt Lake City. Let's go over here to Salt Lake City right here. Okay? Magna, Utah is right here. March 18, 2019, we had a 5.6 earthquake right here. Don Patoka says 5.7 magnitude? Question mark? It might have been a 5.7. But we had a large, what should I say, a mid-range 5 here. Over a mid-range 5, a very powerful earthquake. Over $2 million of damage all over Salt Lake City. Over $2 million of damage here in Salt Lake City, all over the county. Okay? I live further south here. I live down here. Sandy, Utah. Don lives down here in Sandy, Utah, north of where I lived. Okay? Where I lived, it felt like a 3.2, 3.4 earthquake. That's what I thought it was. But when I found out it was in Magna, and it was a lot larger earthquake than I thought, that's when my situation changed. I lived 25 miles away, and I felt the earth move. It turned out it was a very large earthquake, causing millions of dollars of damage. Unreal. Unreal. And yes, we have seismic energy hitting all over the fault line here. All over the fault line here. And USGS is not talking about any of it. None of it. None of it. That's what's sad. That's what's sad. Does anybody have any questions about this? Cowboy Roy Rogers is here in the chat saying, Don, please stop doing the Mexican hat dance around the spilled cup of ice. We don't want you to get hurt. Besides, you might look almost as ridiculous as me. Cowboy, you're all right. You're a great man. We appreciate you a lot. Before I leave here, let's talk about this earthquake here. This is in Kansas. It's an oil and gas earthquake here in Kansas. It's a 2.7 minor earthquake here. Oil and gas related. Look at these other earthquakes here. Oil and gas quakes here, guys. Look at the oil and gas plots here. Look at the plots here. They're all over. Right here is a plot right there. Oil and gas. Oil and gas plots all over the place here. All throughout this area. Oil and gas earthquake here. This is a 3.2 in Glen Elder, Kansas. Oil and gas quake. This is a 2.7 here, 1 kilometer southwest of Glen Elder. Unreal. Up here to the north, this is a 2.7. Minor earthquake there. 3.2 small earthquake there. And this is a 2.7 earthquake here, minor earthquake here. Okay, that's what happened here. Oil and gas quakes here in Kansas. Yes, we don't usually see these earthquakes in Kansas, but it does happen. It does happen. It does happen. Does anybody have any questions for me? Down here in Oklahoma, we have more earthquakes here. Hennessy, Oklahoma, 0.8 microquake there. South of there, Reno, Oklahoma, oil and gas quakes. There are 586,000 drill points in Oklahoma. And hundreds of thousands of earthquake, or not earthquakes, but hundreds of thousands drill points in Texas. Unreal. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Any questions? I'm going to pull up our banner here. I'm going to pull up our webcam. You see the scroll at the bottom of your screen? We have our email address. We have our post office box, 104 North Green Street, box 105, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. We appreciate any and all support you can give us. We really do. That would mean the world to me. Help keep this program on the air. We appreciate Heidi Petrick. We appreciate everyone who has given us support here tonight. God bless you all. We really do appreciate it very much. Appreciate it a lot. Also, just below this video tonight, in the top of our program description, you're going to find our email address, you're going to find our mailing address, you're also going to find our PayPal addresses, there's 2 of them. You're going to find our Venmo address as well. Okay? We appreciate you sending us support there. God bless you for that. God bless you for that. We need it. We need to keep this program on the air. Now, besides that, I want to show you a card. Today we got a card from Laura and John in Oregon. My dear friends, and Laura's here tonight with us. Her husband John may be also monitoring this program. We got a donation. They sent us a American Express gift card. We appreciate that donation as well. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Guys, Laura and John took a train to see their newest grandchild. Klamath Falls, Oregon. Klamath Falls, Oregon, guys. It's stunningly beautiful. They took the train to Klamath Falls, Oregon right here. You see the train in the background there. Amtrak. Beautiful. Stunningly beautiful. Laura and John, thank you for this beautiful card, and thank you for your donation. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. Also in the back, I just love this. Love seeing this. This is a church. It looks like a church here in Klamath Falls. Look at that. A beautiful building here. An absolutely beautiful building here in Klamath Falls. Unreal. Thank you again, Laura and John. We love and appreciate you. I've known Laura for a lot of years. She's been a very good, dear friend of mine for a lot of years. God bless you, Laura and John. We love you very much. I appreciate all those who provided super chats. I appreciate all those that have supplied us letters. NanoGaf, yesterday we got a card from NanoGaf with a donation inside, and today American Express Gold card, debit card from Laura and John. Thank you so much. We love and appreciate you all. And thank you all for those that gifted memberships to the Emergency Management Associates program. We appreciate it. Earlier today, I don't know whether you've seen it because I can't find it, but I did a members only broadcast. YouTube should have processed it by now. It's not showing. I did a members only broadcast for about 45 minutes earlier today. If it's not showing by tonight, I will try to go on the air sometime in the next few days and do another members only broadcast. Okay? We talked a lot about things that I've talked about tonight, and we talked about a few other things as well. I did not see anybody in the chat this morning. That's why I don't think YouTube published it. Unreal. Arnold Smith says Dina Rana sent him a birthday card, mailed it on the 16th of January. I didn't receive it until February 25th. Snail mail. Isn't that the truth? Unreal. Unreal. Snail mail. Arnold's a great man too. I've talked to Arnold. I've gotten some donations from Arnold, and he's helped me a great deal with computers. God bless you, Arnold. Appreciate you very much. Our mods here. I want to thank our mods for being here as well. We appreciate and love you very much. You've done a great job for us. I've talked about you mods before. You guys are the greatest mods on YouTube. As far as I'm concerned, you are the best. There are no others. Now, before I leave you tonight, I've talked about Jesus Christ and devotionals here for the past several years. Tonight I want to talk about heartbeats at home, our family, our commitment to each other. Now, in the vast expanse of life, amidst the relentless tide of challenges and successes, Carol has always been my brightest star. What I'm going to do tonight is pay tribute to her and our shared journey with our family. The promises we have made to ensure our family remains our sacred sanctuary. Now, as I talk about this, Carol and I were first married on January 17th, 2017. We've already passed one anniversary just 2 months ago. We're going to have another anniversary coming up very soon. We appreciate our family. In 7 days, 1 week from today, 2 of our sons who are twins. No, they're not my blood sons, but I count on them as my sons. They count as me as their father as well, because their father really isn't in the picture. I love my sons. One of my sons typically comes on this program when I least expect it. He might be here right now. Paul. Some of you have run into Paul in this chat room. Okay? I love our family. I have 4 children by my first wife. Natalie, Kimberly, Melissa, and Eric. Carol has Paul and Thomas, twins. They're now 20 years old next Friday. 20 years old next Friday. What a great thing. We have Katie. She's 23. Love her to death. We have another son who is autistic, right now living with his father in Salt Lake City. We love Lewis. Don Patoga's met Lewis, and I believe Don Patoga also loves Lewis. Lewis is someone you can't not love. Lewis is a great man, 24 years of age. Then we have another son, Carol's oldest, my oldest. This man is someone I greatly admire, Austin. Austin, he's the oldest. Love him and all the children to pieces. Juvie Joe says, Carol, no doubt, is an amazing woman who loves you and all you do. Yes, she does. And I greatly appreciate her. Carol is my guiding light, my star that I look up to, my star that I follow, my star that helps me with everything I do. Now, I want to share something with you. recollection of our earliest days, the dreams we have spun together, and how Carol has been my rock, upon which I've anchored my aspirations and our marriage. Now, we need to be in sync with our aspirations. As a man driven by my entrepreneurial spirit, Carol's understanding and patience have always been my solace. Carol's sweet spirit and her patience with me have always been my rock. Her insights keep me sane. Her insights have and keep me with our shared vision. Keep our vision on the same level, making us and our marriage richer and more stronger, more profound. Now, as we go through the rest of our lives, despite the whirlwind of our commitments, both personal and in our sacred space, and also in our community, we've always prioritized us. Always. Every getaway we've ever had, every place we've ever been, every quiet evening, every time we go to church, every time we laugh at some crazy program on the tube, we share the moments of our lifetime, our lifeline together. Now, we have a shared faith. Our faith is our shared beacon. Our spiritual journey, as I've been talking about during this past week, has been one of mutual discovery, where each day with scriptures and prayers deepens our souls and deepens our bonds and our commitment to each other. We face life's trials together. Together. That's what husbands and wives do. I saw the same thing with Don when I lived near he and his wife and their family. I've seen how his wife and he were together. I love that about them. Now, we face life's trials and adversity throughout our lives. Unwavering adversities, whether it was health setbacks or challenges on our professional or my professional front. Carol has always been my one person I can look to ground myself and have and share faith with her in our journey. She's been the wind beneath my wings. In all reality, she is. We've grown together. Change is inevitable. Yes, we have not always agreed on everything. No two people do. But as we've evolved, our promises to each other have remained steadfast. We have learned, we have adapted, and we've grown stronger, ensuring our relationship is always evolving, always deepening. Now, let's talk about our future steps. This is where all of you also come into play, walking our sacred path together. We reaffirm our commitment, don't we? As we move forward, we're taking conscious steps to strengthen our bond. That's what each one of us needs to be doing, taking steps to strengthen our bond, be it through couples retreats, shared projects, or simply more time together. We are committed to nurturing our relationship. Now, we've been building a legacy together, a blueprint for our legacy. We are more than just partners. We are co-architects of our family's future. Together, Carol and I are laying down plans, creating memories. Every memory. Even today, Carol is helping me in my responsibilities. I'm the manager of our church building here. Carol helps me with that responsibility, and I greatly appreciate her. We create memories together. We are ensuring that our children and their children, our grandchildren, inherit a legacy of love, a legacy of faith and commitment. Together we have 4 daughters, 4 lovely daughters, and we have some sons. Yes, we have some sons. 5 sons. 5 sons. We have sons-in-laws. Saying that we have grandchildren is mind-blowing. When I first got married to my first wife, I didn't think much of grandchildren at all. But grandchildren have come. And now those grandchildren are mind-blowing. They're mind-blowing. The blessings we have gotten are over the top. And it fills me and my wife with great joy. Joy that's indescribable. The one piece I don't want to forget is the blessings that come from our children. Yes, the blessings that come from our children and even our siblings who have wonderful spouses. Carol has 5 siblings. Yes, we have the coolest nieces and nephews. We love them all. We have the most fun gatherings when we've gotten together. At the core of life's journey, at the corner of our journey together, Carol and our family have been our heartbeat, my own heartbeat, and my sacred significance. Through this time, I wanted to express my deepest gratitude for each of them. My deepest gratitude to Carol and the children, and our spouses, their spouses, and even our siblings. I have found a very profound connection with their journeys and with their own families. Brothers and sisters, guess what? Yes, we have enough family members now to field a baseball team. Arnold Smith's here enough to field a baseball team. That's exactly right. We do. I'm very joyful. I'm very happy. Each of us can have this same happiness and joy in our families. Each of us can have that same joy and happiness in our families. We can do that. We can do that through family prayer. Prayer with our spouses. Prayer to our Heavenly Father, even by ourselves. And prayer with our family. I'm asking you all now to find that in your own life. Find it in your own life. And you will be blessed. You will be blessed beyond measure. I promise you that. Find it in your own life. Find happiness. Find enrichment. Find joy. And you will find eternal life with your family. I know that to be true. I love each one of you. Each one of you are my friends and my family. And I think of you as that. I love each one of you. I ask God to be with you now. Tomorrow night we will be talking about emergency preparedness. I call it Preparedness Friday. If you have suggestions of anything you would like me to speak about tomorrow evening, please send me an email. rltnspdema@gmail.com. Again, our post office box is 104 North Green Street, Box 105, Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code is 28655. You have ways of contacting us. We'd appreciate any support you can give us. That would mean the world to Carol and I. God bless you. God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. I look forward to that. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. See you soon. God bless. Just a second here. I don't know why This is doing this. We're going to deal with it here.